Thanks for being a great warm-up act. Now the real show can begin. I did not realize that there were going to be so many eloquent speech writers in the room tonight. So I guess the bar was a little higher than I expected it to be. Hello everyone, my name is Bethany. I am Rebecca's oldest and prettiest sister. As the oldest sister and the married one in the family, I thought it was my duty, but also my honor, to say a few words today, a few words of advice about marriage. A few words, and I use that word very loosely. But so just bear with me, because when I talk about something that I really care about, I can tend to be a little long-winded. And to say that I care about my sister and her marriage and her family is a gross understatement. So that being said, if anyone would like to get a refill on a drink or go to the bathroom, now's your chance. I'm going to be up here for a minute. Or maybe 9. Rebecca and Corey, you two have some nerve getting married today. That's right, I said it. You two young, intelligent, attractive people thought it would be a good idea to get married today in 2018, when marriage is dismissed as old-fashioned, casual is valued over commitment, and the pursuit of the instantaneous gratification of the ever-elusive concept of happiness is esteemed as the highest level of freedom. Gosh, that takes some nerve, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. It takes guts, and it takes strength, and it takes an unwavering commitment to your values, to your personal beliefs, and to one another. And I just think it's an awesome thing that we all got to be here today to witness such an amazing exhibition of character.
Hear, hear.
Now, I know I'm young and I'm no expert, but don't tell Garrett or Jason, because I need them to think that I know everything for a little while longer. I don't have a PhD in family or marital studies, and I don't have years and years of experience like some do in this room, but I do have a lot of anecdotal evidence. So there's just a couple pieces of advice that I'd like to share with you. My baby sister and your husband. Advice piece number 1. Understand that marriage isn't going to work for you. No matter who you are or what your life has been up to this point, marriage isn't going to work for you. Marriage isn't a tax write-off. It's not a contract of convenience. It's not a social status, despite what Rich says on Facebook. But you have to work for your marriage. And just like any other job, it's not always going to be easy. There are going to be days that you wake up exhausted with a sinus infection and terrible allergies and a fibromyalgia flare-up because you've spent all night packing and repacking for a 10-hour car ride and then taking all of the pretzels out of the suitcase. Thanks, Lacey. And you're going to think that there is not enough matcha in the world to get you through the next day. And you might just want to quit and give up, but you can't. And by the way, we're really glad that you didn't, because if you had, then we wouldn't all be here today, and this free food is amazing. No, but really, those days are going to happen. There's no avoiding it, and I think that there's a myth that the longer that you're together, the easier it gets, but I don't actually think that that's true. While you might learn how to better tackle problems together, the longer you're together, yes, there actually is a tactful way to tell your spouse that they have bad breath. But you two are living, breathing beings, and as long as you're growing and changing, so is your relationship. And it's not always going to be for the better, but during the hard times, it's really important to remember that, number 2, marriage is a commitment unlike any other in existence. In a world of 2-year cell phone contracts and 1-year leases and 15-year mortgages, there's no long term anymore. For crying out loud, you only have to care about your offspring, technically, for 18 years. And some of those things may seem like a long time, especially when your offspring decides that she's too big for naps now and she still refuses to go to bed before 10 o'clock at night. There is really no compare to until death do you part, is there? In every other kind of contract, there is a but clause built in, and then a less clause. So you can always, pay a fine or go through an appeal process to get out of your contract or whatever, to get out of Dodge if you don't feel like being there anymore. And we put these fail-safes to place to protect ourselves and to make contracts and commitments seem less intimidating. But imagine a cell phone contract with an until death clause. It's pretty intimidating. So like everything else, we've written a unless clause, a fail-safe, into marriage as well, and that's divorce. Imagine how many more people would get married if their vows said, instead of until death do we part, said until I don't feel like taking you anymore. But no, we live in an age where we have almost instantaneous access to anything and everything we could possibly want, usually with just a click of a button. There's no do or die situations anymore. However, in order for marriage to actually succeed, to actually have that forever relationship, you have to believe that marriage is an exception to the fail-safe rule. If you don't give yourself the option of getting out every time you argue about finances or children or in-laws or dirty socks, you force yourself to find actual solutions. And this is what it means to work for your marriage. Number 3 is priorities. Oh my goodness, we young people have so many freaking options these days. It's a beautiful yet terrifying thing. Like I said, we have instantaneous access to the world. Opportunities are abundant, and it can be truly overwhelming to pick what you want to do and who you want to be, and very easy to want to try a little bit of everything. Our society, our generation doesn't like to take no for an answer. We want to have it all. But realistically, we can't, and somewhere along the lines we're going to have to say no. So how do we make these priorities? We make lists of what's most important to us to what's least important to us. Now please hear me when I say this. I know I've been droning on for a few minutes. Here I go again with that word few. I'm almost done, kind of. Does anyone need a bathroom break? But hey, I warned you I was long-winded.
She asked because she has a toddler.
If marriage is on your list of priorities, it has to be on top. There are very few things that I think should ever be allowed above marriage once you've made that commitment. Religion or self-preservation or welfare of a child out here, but finances, career advancement, making sure the recycling goes in the bin and not just next to it. Those things are important and they should be on your list, but they should be under marriage. They cannot be allowed to push marriage further and further down the list until it's off of it altogether. I know this is going to sound harsh, but if you do, then ever having marriage on top of the list was a lie. You have to be willing to say no to any and everything necessary for marriage to work. And I know that to most people our age, that thought is terrifying. We love open doors and we're constantly second guessing our decisions, but please hear me when I tell you, and this is the anecdotal evidence that I was talking about. You'll never know how much freedom you have until you learn to say no. Going out to dinner, going on vacations, birthday and anniversary gifts do not a marriage make. The best promotion you will ever receive is being called the best husband or wife ever. The best vacation you'll ever go on is in the comfort and relaxation of your partner's loving and reliable embrace. And the best gift you'll ever give is having another anniversary at all. So say no to everything and anything else that might jeopardize those things. So those are just 3 little pieces of advice that I wanted to share with you. And although I know it probably feels like I've been on a soapbox droning up here for hours now, at least it feels like that to me, there's one last little bonus piece of advice that I'd like to give you. And I think it's something that you already know because here we all are, after your I do, celebrating the fact that you decided to take that plunge into the wonderful sea of married life. And so this is it. This is my bonus advice, and then I'll get off the train. Number 4, Marriage isn't something that you can figure out in advance. The answers aren't in the back of the book. It's not something you can test drive. There's no 30-day money-back guarantee. There's no kiddie slope. There's no kiddie pool. You either dive in deep and learn to swim, or you don't jump. You can do everything you possibly can to prepare yourself, but in the end, there's nothing that compares to the real thing. I'm not saying that you should go in blind, and I think that you two especially have taken lots of steps to make sure that you know exactly what you got yourselves into today. And that's definitely a good thing, but all I want to say is going forward, you can't possibly prepare yourself for every situation that marriage is going to bring you through. Every morning, you have to wake up and remind yourself of the commitment that you made today, and surrender yourselves to that covenant. Because that's what marriage is, right? It's a covenant between you two and God. But not just a covenant between you two, to God, but a covenant that God actively puts himself into as well. It's as much of a promise from him to you as it is from you to him. And I don't know if you've ever read this book called the Bible. It's like been a #1 seller for a while. But in it, God shows us exactly what he thinks of his covenants with his people. Psalm 105 verse 8 says, "He remembers his covenant forever, the word he commanded for 1,000 generations." And in Exodus 19 verse 5 says, "Now therefore you will indeed obey, if you will indeed obey my voice and keep my covenant, you shall be my treasured possession among all people, for all the earth is mine." And in Isaiah 59 verse 21, it says, "And as for me, this is my covenant with them, says the Lord. My spirit that is upon you, and my words that I have put in your mouth shall not depart out of your mouth, or out of the mouth of your offspring, or out of the mouth of your children's offspring, says the Lord, from this time forth and forevermore." So you see, God takes his covenants very seriously. He doesn't back out on them ever. Not in 1,000 generations. And he promises you that if you keep his covenant, you will be his treasured possession. And that his spirit will not be not only with you, but with your offspring and your offspring's offspring. So to say that the answers aren't in the back of the book is true. There's nothing you're going to be able to do to solve every problem before it comes up. And there's never going to be a way for you in your own mental and emotional capacities to be able to figure out if your solution was the correct one. Like I said, you're going to constantly be second-guessing yourself. But that's why marriage isn't just between the two of you. God has wrapped himself around both of you today, strengthening your bond, making you a threefold cord. If nothing else, fall back on his promises to never leave you. Surrender daily to his wisdom and strength. And remember that there will never, ever be a problem too big, or too complicated, or too messy, or too heartbreaking that he cannot solve. He is the answer at the back of the book. He is your fail-safe. He is your priority. Let him be. Grab onto him and jump. Take the plunge, learn to swim, and don't let drowning be an option. Commit. Make it your priority. Work hard, say no, get close, and get ready for the most exhilarating, fun, difficult, but beautiful ride that you will never want to get off of. Not even until death do you part. And now we have such a big family. Keep going on and on with the speeches here. But we do have a quick word from our youngest sister, Sarah, who is currently living in Utah and couldn't make it, and she wanted to send her wishes as well. So I have a video for that as well.